Welcome back. I hope everybody's having a great Labor Day weekend. Um, Wanted to jump on here and try to knock out some interviews with new clients. And we've got one here that's been with us for a little bit, Jerome Brooks the third. Jerome is a safety and corner out of Long Island University. Jerome stands roughly 6'2", about 200 pounds. So obviously he's a long body. Um, and obviously we know in today's game that a lot of DCs look for longer bodies in the defensive backfield. So we'll get a chance here to get to know Jerome and hopefully open some doors for opportunities even through this interview process. So Jerome, how you doing this morning or this afternoon, I should say?
I'm doing good, man. Just happy to be alive, happy to be here. So
How's
good.
your Labor Day weekend going? I know you got some plans later today with Dad and them.
Yeah, we got our fantasy draft a little later, so that's about it.
Okay, fantasy draft. Well, talk to me about that. Well, talk to me a little bit about the fantasy draft. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, we just it's just uh, our whole family just like gets together every year and we do a fantasy league. So we last year was our first year doing this, so we got our draft a little later today around 5. So
Okay, all right. Any uh any picks you want to talk about, or are you keeping your
Mm,
cards close to the vest?
it's a 12-man league and I have 10. So I don't know. I'm hoping for a good running back, maybe like a Nick Chubb or a Saquon, somebody like that. I'll try
Okay,
to.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not gonna necessarily reveal any targets right now per se. You kind of keep that close to the vest, huh?
Exactly.
So let me ask you this: who comes out, or who's come out on top in the past? You or Dad?
Last year I came in second. One of our uncles won, but yeah,
Wow.
I
Okay.
think
All right.
I stopped. So
Dad try to keep a close eye on your strategy there? Is he ask you a lot of questions trying to find out what you're going to
uh,
do so he can?
not really. He's a Cowboys fan, so he tries to get a lot of the Cowboys on his team. So got Dak Prescott and the CD Lamb and Tony Pollard and stuff like that. I just go for whoever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, let's just jump right into this. Talk to me a little bit about, well, not so much me because I already know, but talk to anybody that's watching about your journey. Let's kind of start there. Um, you've had a very productive college career, so take us through where you played your high school ball and how you got to the colleges that you ended up at, and bring us up to the present day where you are now.
Cool. So I started my high school. I went to St. John the Baptist High School. It's in West Islip, New York. I went there and I played both running back and safety when I was there. I did very good in high school. I think I was like number 2 all time for rushing at St. John the Baptist. I was first team all state defense and offense. Um, and I was recruited by a lot of like CAA teams and NE10 schools coming out of high school, and I wind up choosing to go to Stony Brook University. I signed as a strong safety there. I was going to play the rover position, which is kind of like an outside linebacker hybrid. And then what happened was about like a month before summer camp started, I wind up getting moved to running back. So, my true freshman year, I kind of just stuck it out because I was going to redshirt anyway. So, I just played scout team, played running back. And then the same thing with my second year. I got a little work on special teams, but I was still just behind the depth in running back. And I knew I was a natural DB, so I kind of wanted to switch back, but their DB room was a little packed at that time. So then I made the decision to transfer to LIU Post. It was LIU Post at the time. It was still a Division II school. And I was very close with one of the head coaches, and actually my varsity running back coach. The year I left to go to Stony Brook, he left and went to LIU Post. So, I had that connection there already. So they picked me up once I hit the portal. I signed the next day to go to LIU. I signed as a safety, and I played a lot of nickelback my first year there. That would have been my redshirt sophomore year. I played a lot of nickelback third down and like every special teams I played. I wound up starting our last playoff game at LIU Post. And then after that 2018 season is when we transitioned to LIU and we wound up moving up to Division One into the NEC. So then that 2019 season I started, and we were just a very, very young team at the time. We had a lot of kids hit the portal. We had a lot of incoming freshmen, true freshmen playing, and we only had three at that time. We only had two seniors on defense and then me. And at that time I was a redshirt junior. So we were very, very like young team, very inexperienced team. So, we got beat up a little bit that 2019 season. And then the COVID year wound up hitting. So we didn't play the 2020 season. We wound up having spring 4-game season. So I wound up getting an extra year back. And 2021 was my last season and started that season. And the same thing, we were a pretty young, inexperienced team. So I was heavily relied on, especially in the secondary, to make a lot of the calls because we had, a true freshman corner starting. We had a redshirt freshman starting free safety. And then me and one of the other corners was a safety, and a senior and a junior. So, the coach kind of relied on me a lot to make all the calls and and the adjustments and stuff like that. So I did good my senior year. My junior year I think I was number 3 in the league in tackles, playing as a strong safety, which it's not very good for a team if your safety is leading in tackles, but it was good for me just because of the stat wise. But
absolutely,
my senior year, I was bouncing back and forth between strong safety and free safety just because, we lack so much depth and we lack really the experience at it. So, like my first 4 games I played, like my first 4 or 5 games, I started at strong safety. I was leading a team of tackles. And then after that, we had an injury, unfortunately, one of our free safety. So I wound up moving to free safety and another kid at strong safety. And then, my tackles kind of declined after that just because the scheme we ran, our free safety was a lot middle of the field, but I think in like a 5-game span, I had like 4 interceptions, 3 or 4 interceptions. So, the tackle numbers went down, but the interception numbers went up. So
that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It's kind of an even trade-off a little bit.
But I'm a tackling kind of guy. I like to get in the box. I like to get dirty in the box. So,
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about that. You had 154 tackles, if I'm not mistaken, over 23 games in your college career.
Yeah.
So broke down to 100 solo, 54 assisted.
Yes.
So obviously, like you said, you're a guy that likes to be physical. You like to get in the box. You like to be around the action, making hits. What is it about being in the box more like a linebacker or being able to get down in the action and being physical? What is it that I guess really excites you about that versus what normally DBs are kind of in the back, running with receivers, patrolling the back of the defensive backfield? What is it about being down in the trenches and in the action that you like so much? Why are you more of a physical hitter type?
I think maybe it's because I played running back a lot, like my whole life, that like I was so used to contact. I feel like a lot of DBs, like throughout their life, it was either like you play DB and receiver was like a big thing. So, they were never really in that box. But, I played running back my whole life. So it's like I was just so used to being like, close to the line and like, contact every play. And especially like I feel like that helped me a lot too with my strong safety because I knew like, especially with like running backs and like how the concepts are and where like the holes are going to open. I feel like that helped me, especially like since I played my first 2 years of college at running back. I knew like running back, like I knew schemes, I knew zone schemes, I knew all those schemes. So I think it just helped me a lot. And like, my fits when I came down, I kind of knew like just by how the linemen were moving, like where the hole was going to be. And, it's almost like I was running the ball like on defense, like without the ball, like I was like running the ball for them.
You talk about schemes. Talk to me a little bit about the schemes that you were a part of in college. And I'm not, I know they may still be running those things and coaching them, and so I'm not asking you to give up inside
Yeah.
information, basically. But just talk to me about your general understanding of the schemes that you're a part of. Talk about your responsibilities in the scheme, and talk to me about how you feel that experience will help you translate to a professional football player at the USFL, XFL, CFL, NFL type levels. Talk to me a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
So our defensive coordinator at LIU, my senior year, we were a heavy cover 4 team. That was like his thing. We were a big cover 4 team. So we basically took away the deep ball and, we let them get the little 5-yard outs, 5-yard ins, stuff like that. So a lot of the times on my strong safety side, especially a lot of teams in our conference, it was a lot of like 3-by-1 sets with like a tight end on attached to the line instead of detached like number 1 on the backside. So a lot of the times I'd be playing like 8 yards off the ball inside the tight end. I was basically just like standing behind the linebackers. I was like a third linebacker on the weak side, just 2 yards behind them. And a lot of the times I was the unblocked guy just because I was unaccounted for in like the running schemes. So I would be a lot of that in our schemes. And then if anything, like if a 2-by-2 came out or something like that, or somehow they ran like a 3-by-1 into the weak side of the field, I would mostly be like that curl to flat defender a lot of the times. And then more when I moved to free safety, they put me more into like man-to-man coverage when I was in safety, just because, I was a little older, I was more experienced, and I was a good man-to-man coverer. That we switched a lot more to man-to-man when I moved over to free safety. Occasionally, I'd run a deep hole, but my senior year, we were a heavy cover 4 team, and then we had a different defensive coordinator that year. I led the league in tackles. We were a little more of like a true 4-3 team, and almost like the same thing. I was more so in the box, just a lot more my junior year, just because we really needed that help, like because our linebackers were young, that they inserted me into the box a lot more in like the run scheme and especially the pass scheme too. So.
Okay. So do you feel more comfortable in man-to-man, or do you feel more comfortable as a zone type player?
I really like both. I really like, if I had to choose one, I would say I like zone coverage a little bit more, just because I can read the quarterback. But I'm comfortable in man-to-man too. I just love zone just because I can float around and I could just read quarterback's eyes, and I can
Just kind of float around and make plays.
I can guess where they're going.
How are you if you're asked as like a strong safety to step down in somebody's face and play press man or be physical with a receiver off the line of scrimmage? How do you feel about your ability to do those things?
No, I would definitely be able to do that as well. I didn't really get the chance to in college, just because whenever we did run like the man on the backside, we'd always have our corner press, so we had to play at levels. So I would never really get the chance to go down and press receivers off the line. But it's funny, one year, like when we were transitioning over that COVID year, we only had about 5 or 6 defensive backs during one of our spring practices. So a lot of the times I would be like, they would put me in that corner as well. Like we kind of just rotated because we only had 6 guys. So for like a solid year during that COVID, I played a lot of corner, and I just played a lot of man coverage. And honestly, I'd much rather play a press coverage than, off man coverage, just because I can get my hands on guys a lot quicker. So if I had to pick one, I'd definitely play a press man over an off man any day of the week.
So we got a question here, all right, from the viewing audience. This is Coach Jerome O'Neill. Coach O'Neill is the head coach of the Salina Liberty. They were the league champions of the Champions Indoor Football League a couple seasons ago. We've had a chance to have several of our players get signed through Coach O'Neill. So Coach O'Neill and I have a good working relationship. He asked me, or asked you rather, what do you like the most, tackles or picks?
Tackles.
Talk to him. Go ahead and talk to Coach O'Neill. Talk to him about it.
Definitely. I mean, not just anything. I really like getting TFLs. Like TFLs, I think are the best thing to have. Picks are cool, but I'd much rather like a nice TFL than a nice pick.
And then he said, what's this? Let's see. What the button's over the question. Let's see. He asked something. I don't know. Can you see it? Can you see the question?
Let me check.
He asked, what's your current?
No, I can't see.
Let's see.
Let me see if I can look on here.
It says something about hide and sitting over the top of the question. Let's see.
No, I can't see anything in the chat. No.
What was the second question? Hang on just a second. We're getting it here. Okay. What's your current size? Okay. Coach O'Neill, he is roughly 6'2", right at about 200 pounds. Now let's talk about that. What's your ideal playing weight?
Most of the time when I was at Stony Brook and I was playing running back, so I put in my charger because my phone's dying. Yeah. But when I went into Stony Brook, I was about 185 pounds, coming out of high school, and I bulked up because I was playing running back at that time to like 210 when I was playing running back, and I felt that was a little bit heavy. But my junior and senior year, I played at around 195, and then my senior year I played at about 200. I would always teeter between like 198 and 200, just depending on the day. But I feel like anywhere in that range, I'm comfortable from that like 195 to 205 range. Like I mostly play it.
So you were talking about how you like tackles more than picks. Obviously, in your career you had 8.5 tackles for loss. But then you also had 3 career interceptions, 13 pass breakups, and then you blocked a kick. Obviously, you have the ability to fly around in the defensive backfield and not just be a tackler, but to be involved in attacking the passing game. Do you feel like you have the range as a free safety to go sideline to sideline?
Oh, yeah. I think that's like besides like tackles, I love playing like that deep hole middle safety player. I think that's like if I'm going to play a zone, like that's one of my favorite zones to play just because I can everything's underneath me and I could just read the quarterback. And, I feel like I do a really good job at reading quarterbacks. I had a really good DB coach that like really drilled that into me. So I think I do a really good job playing like that middle hole player.
Coach O'Neill said he wants to see your film. Coach, real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt you with your statement. Coach's profile is on the website. If you go to Professional Prospects, which just go down there and click on his picture or his name. That profile opens up, and we've got his film temporarily posted while our video editor cleans it up and makes it look nice and pretty. So, but yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. He popped in. So that's a big deal with safeties. Obviously, having range. Being able to fly sideline to sideline and make plays. I had a chance to, as I was trying to find some of your film to maybe get some better quality clips. Ran across the West Virginia game. Obviously, your name got called by ESPN on there. There was a play deep down the field where you were kind of a secondary. I guess you kind of pushed your guy. You kind of ran your guy into the other receiver. So basically, y'all kind of all converged in one area. But they mentioned the fact that, due to your getting there at the time you got there, that was a part of the reason the play got disrupted. That's a big deal when you can play against a big time program like West Virginia,
Yeah.
and get your name called by ESPN that you're flying around making plays. That's a big deal. I've ran that playback several times.
Mhm.
And you can see your range there. You covered quite a bit of distance, and it was real smart how you you know, kind of play bumper cars with your receiver and kind of pushed him over into the line of fire there with the other guy and kind of made that
Yeah.
whole thing break apart. So
Yeah. Just funnel them into each other.
yeah, so I mean, obviously, you've got a high football IQ.
Mhm.
Obviously, because you realize situations that are going on even on the fly, and you're able to diagnose that in your head and figure out, what's the best course of action while you're in movement. So
Yeah.
um, I definitely think that you have, from my perspective, you have the necessary range to fly around and be a productive professional player. Um, Talk about blocking kicks. Are you a special
Uh,
teams guy? You like special teams? Are you a guru
um,
or?
um, so I played a lot of specials my 2018 year. My first year at LIU, I played a lot of specials. My 2019 season, I really didn't just because, I was relied on heavy for defense. But then back to my last season, well, this was 2019 season. Like we just left our starting defense out there for a field goal block and, like extra point blocks. And I was on the kickoff. So I did kickoff and then I did field goal block and um, that's about it. But yeah, it was against Wagner that I blocked the kick, and then one of our corners wound up scooping and scoring it. But yeah, I mean, I love playing kickoff. Like I think kickoff is one of my favorite ones. I also played punt too. Punt's fun too, but I think kickoff and like field goal block. I like being the not the edge rusher on field goal block, but the one in man from the edge rusher that shoots between like that wing and the tight end. I think that's where I got the block from. I just split them.
Okay, all right. Do you like punt block, or are you a guy that likes to come off the edge and lay out for
For our
well?
punt block
Or,
scheme, I was really just a blocker the whole time. Like I don't mind it; it's fun doing
yeah,
that too. Just because like I get to do something different. I get to block somebody, but I didn't really play much of it my last year. I played it the two previous years, but
yeah.
it's fun just because you get to go on the other side. Get to block somebody. You don't get to do that much at safety.
When you get in on punt block, do you get excited like when you got the offense pinned back in the red zone and now the punter's
Oh
in the
yeah,
back of the end zone and you
yeah.
realize that he's only got so much movement room to make
Yeah,
something happen?
guys go after him. Yeah, even when we ran our block schemes on punt, we would just sub in one of our smaller, faster corners, and I would still just be on the inside blocking. But it's funny because those guys they got to stay in and really block, so the punt doesn't get blocked. So I really get to just jam them and get my hands on them
Yeah,
from that
absolutely.
point. So yeah, they don't get that
Absolutely.
free release.
Let's change gears a little bit. Obviously you're in transition right now as far as trying to find a professional opportunity.
Hmm.
So key right now is staying ready. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Nick Cannon's Wild and Out TV show, and there's a
Mhm.
particular episode with Ti, and the last skit or game of the show, the Wild and Out battle. Nick Cannon looks over at Ti and says, "You ready?" And Ti looks at him and says, "You stay ready. You don't got to get ready." So
Yep.
that obviously applies in sports. That applies in life. That applies in a lot of other areas.
Hmm.
Obviously, with that being said, staying ready as a professional athlete waiting for an opportunity is a big deal. How are you staying ready right now? What does your off-season conditioning program look like? Are you 3 days a week, 5 days a week, 7 days a week? And
Yeah.
in
So
and in that, talk about what things are you particularly focused on right now? Is it recovery? Is it flexibility, strength and conditioning, speed and agility?
uh,
Is it nutrition? What is it
yeah.
that main focuses are this time around in this particular off-season conditioning program that you're about to walk us through.
Cool. So, 5 days a week I do my lifting program, and then 3 days a week I'll do like my agility, conditioning, and then like just my footwork and skill type of stuff right now. So I work as a personal trainer. So the facility I work at, actually I have the shirt on right now. It's VSP, but the the facility I train at, it has indoor turf in there, and then we have all the bells and whistles when it comes to lifting wise. So right after I'm done working, I'll get my lifts in there, and then also kids that we train there. We have a lot of college athletes there, and we have a lot of college football players there. So they always try to pick my brain for more DB stuff because we do have like 4 or 5 DBs. A couple of them play D2 ball, and then we have one Division 1 player there, and then we have 4 or 5 Division 2 wide receivers there. So they'll try to pick my brain, and then I pick their brain too, because there's always stuff you can learn from other positions and other people. So 3 out of those days, it kind of slowed down now because they went back to college. But during the summertime, all of us, we just get together. We do our one-on-ones, we do our footwork drills, or do like all that good stuff. But right now, I'm kind of just focused on strength wise. I'm just trying to focus on getting stronger, but also staying strong, and putting on a little bit more weight. I'm sitting at like 195 right now, so it's not too hard for me to gain weight. But just staying strong, and then a lot of flexibility right now, and just like keeping my body healthy, because during college I always had like tight hips when I wouldn't necessarily like running tight hips, but just like mobility wise, stuff like that. So over like since I stopped playing, I really just been trying to focus on staying flexible and staying strong, and also keep my feet under me at the same time.
Okay, I gotcha. Are you currently involved in any kind of community service efforts? And I ask that because obviously as a college athlete, you guys have a chance to experience that. Every program has its own ideas and philosophies about that, whether it's children's hospitals or whether it's mentoring Boys and Girls Club or reading to elementary students or Habitat for Humanity, or it's food drives for the homeless, soup kitchens,
Mhm.
whatever. Um, and as a professional athlete, you get the chance to do that again because even indoor and arena teams do it. The USFL and XFL, I'm sure they have some kind of program, or they are establishing a program. I know overseas, especially, that's a big deal. Um, and I'm sure the CFL and I know the NFL obviously has programs in place with that. So, are there things that maybe you're involved in now, even though you're not in a league or on a team at the moment? Or
Yeah.
are there things that maybe you've read about, heard about, been told about, or seen on TV, and you said, "Man, when I become a pro athlete, I kind of want to become involved in that."
Yeah. So I always loved like working with kids and like younger athletes. So also through the place I work, um, we'll hold combines for the kids. So we'll make it almost like similar to like an NFL pro day. We'll have them do their dashes. We'll have them do like their 5, 10, 5s, their broad jumps, their vertical jumps. And usually through my company, how they run it, the higher people up, they will run it. But we're allowed to. The other trainers there, we're allowed to go there and just volunteer our time, and take a day on the weekend. We'll do it every couple of months, like on weekends. We'll just hold the events for the kids and let them experience like what a combine is basically. So I'll go there and run that with them, and I love doing that. And then also um, there's a small town in Long Island called Wyandanch, and they have a small like upcoming youth football program that struggled in the past. So my dad is good friends with the commissioner over there. So I went down there 2 or 3 times, just to talk to the kids and like tell them how I experienced college football as like a Division 1 athlete, like the recruiting process and stuff like that. And I also like worked with the kids on the field, try to show them a little bit of, like DB drills. I try to give them a little insider knowledge on like receiver and running back as much as I could, like as much knowledge as I had for any position that was out there. So I did that over the summertime a little bit too. They're in their season right now, so I'm not really helping with them over there. But when they were in their summer training camp, I was over there a little bit helping those kids.
So in talking about that, obviously, being real big on working with the kids, you know, professional athletes and college athletes, you guys are role models for for the youth athletes, for younger kids in
Mhm.
general. You're even a role model and an inspiration to adults and young
Yeah.
adults. Um, how important is it to you as far as the image you portray to the kids and the athletes and the people in general that look up to you as a role model or as an inspiration in their own life pursuits?
Yeah, I mean it's really important, especially like with kids. They're very what's the word for it? They're very easily like impacted. If they see something from somebody that they really admire, they kind of want to do the same things that they're doing. So if I'm out here doing not so good things and bad things for kids that look up to me, they're gonna be like, oh, like he did it, and he's a good football player. So I could do the same thing and get away with it. But I just always want to, because I know when I was growing up, I had an older cousin. He was about like 6 or 7 years older than me. And at the time, I was probably in like fifth or sixth grade, and he was at St. Anthony's High School, which is like a very, very good high school football team on Long Island. And at the time, I was like fifth, sixth grade. And, I went to go watch. He was on varsity, and they were playing Iona Prep. And at the time, Puff Daddy's son was on Iona Prep. So I went to like it was like their championship game, and like that was the first time I've ever been to like a huge like stadium, like a football game, like of that size. And I was like,
Right.
this is crazy. Like I want to I want to be here, like playing for St. Anthony's, playing like in this championship game in front of like all these people. So and he was a great role model to me, and I kind of like modeled my game. I went to St. Anthony's my freshman year before I went to St. John's, and then when I was around that college age, especially like my freshman year of college at Stony Brook, you have kids running up to you. Like I didn't play a snap my true freshman year, but I had kids running up to me like, "Oh my God, like can you sign this? Can you sign this?" And like it kind of hit me then that like these kids look at you like everything you're doing, like even you're standing on the sideline, what you post on social media, like all that stuff, they look at it, people see it. So always just try to stay respectful and good for the kids that look up to you. Try to set a good example for them.
Yeah, and I asked that because you expressed an interest in overseas ball, and we sent a
Mhm.
running back to a GFL 1 team 2 years ago, and he's some people would say he's kind of a unique individual. He's got Kool-Aid red hair and
Mhm.
and things like that. And so he's in Germany, and immediately he's got kids coming up to him as he scores a touchdown, starts to kind of display his skills. Kids are coming up to him, and they're drawing pictures of him and giving him the pictures, and hey, are you coming back next season? You're my favorite player, and all these kind of things. And so
Mhm.
even in an overseas environment, you're going to have kids that are going to come up to you, and you're going to become their hero right away, just by what they see on the field of your performance and the way you carry yourself. So that's
Mhm.
why I asked that question, not just on a stateside manner, but if you were to go
Yeah.
overseas to a foreign country, obviously in an overseas environment, you're an ambassador to the game. You're representing the game of football because there's only a small percentage of Americans that get to be import players to go over there and do that.
Yeah.
So you're being asked to not only represent the game of football, but your college, your family, yourself,
Yep.
the people that represent you. You're getting asked to be a role model to kids and people that you've never met, never seen, never been around. Um, it's just a different kind of experience, and so it's important to hear from the athletes what their thought process is on that, especially with these overseas coaches, because they're gonna want to know that about you, how you will look at their people there and the fan base there, and what importance level that'll be to you being
Oh,
an
for sure.
American import player,
Yeah.
you know. So another
Definitely.
question I want to ask, overseas ball in particular.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times team budgets are not like America. Obviously, in America, NFL teams run on, they're run by owners that are billionaires and millionaires, and they've got
Yeah.
almost unlimited amounts of money for a budget. And so
Yeah.
CFL, again, probably millionaires, people that are making high six figures that can bring in enough sponsorship and investors to present a decent amount of team budget. You go
Yeah.
overseas and it's not like that. Okay. They
Mm-hmm.
operate on smaller budgets and so over there they can't necessarily hire a coach to be a DC and a defensive back to come in and be a player. And I've seen this happen with one of our own clients, and I'll share that story with you. A lot of times they try to kill two birds with one stone. They ask you to come in and be a coach and be a player. So you get a coaching contract, you get a player contract. Maybe sometimes that's a little bit more money, but it's also an added responsibility.
Yeah.
You've already talked about being a coach and working with the kids and doing some coaching. Are you open to that if an overseas opportunity presented itself? And not just are you open to it, but are you willing to go and serve as a coach while also being a player?
A player? That would actually
Yeah.
be interesting. I never thought of that before, but
Well,
yeah,
here's the scenario real quick before you answer.
Mm.
Sometimes it's so over there they don't have middle school and high school in a lot of the countries, if not all the countries in Europe. So they'll have a U9, a U10 or 11, a U12, a U this, a U that, all the way up to I think 19. So they ask the players on what they call the senior team or the professional type team to help coach the U teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, another scenario, D Magid, one of our clients, played cornerback at the University of Hawaii under Norm Chow. He played professional indoor ball in the IFL, came to me a couple years ago, wanted to go overseas. I sent him to Denmark to the Danish National League. At the time, the DNL was one of the top 4 leagues in all of Europe. So he gets there and he says, I want to play receiver. He's been training as a receiver. So now they sign him to be a corner and a strong safety and a receiver. Well, they couldn't bring in a DC, so they asked him, would you be open to being the defensive coordinator on the field while you're playing DB? So here he is on the field as a corner or a strong safety, but now he's also responsible for calling the defense, which would normally be done from the sideline, communicating to everybody to set everything up and making sure the linebackers are communicating to people. Would you be open to either one of those scenarios if that presented itself?
Yeah, that's really funny because so my last year at LIU, like I said, we were a very, very young team. We had about like 4 or 5 true freshmen starting on our defense. So, that's kind of unheard of for true freshmen to be starting. Yeah. And, we had it wasn't difficult, but it was a difficult scheme that we used to run. So what would happen is, usually like our coach would signal in the calls, and, usually like your linebacker is in charge of, setting the fronts and, giving people which way they're going to go. And then the DBs will kind of communicate their coverage from there. But since our linebackers and our D linemen were so young, that I was the one I had to set the front, and I also had to give everybody the coverage call. The only thing that the linebackers were responsible for was setting the run strength. That's it. Mm-hmm. Like just giving a rip or Liz call was really all they were responsible for. Like I was the one to get the signal from the sideline, set our DBs up first, give them what coverage we were in, and then, set the linebackers and the linemen of which way they were going, basically. So, I was kind of doing that already my senior year. So, I don't think it would be much different from that. But, I'd always be open to that. I feel like it just helps me play better because now I know what everybody else is doing. So then I know, where our weaknesses are on the defense and where our strengths are. So
a lot of times we run into athletes, and I want to go overseas. I want to go overseas. And they get ready to go overseas and they start talking to them about the situation. They're like, oh, I don't know about coaching. I just want to be a player, And so I try to make sure that athletes understand the environment over there and the football world over there is different. They don't have the money and resources we do here in America. So they're trying to build their football leagues like ours to be the big time, what you see on TV and the atmospheres and the team followings and all those things. They try to do that with limited money and limited resources. And so a lot of times, like I said, it might be two birds with one stone. Okay, you're a safety. We're going to bring you in, but we're going to give you a coaching contract, and you're going to be the DC on the field. So instead of having a DC you look to on the sideline, you're it. So now you're on the field, and you got to worry about, oh crap, I got to call the play. Oh man, still got to communicate. Okay, now do my job. And so those situations do present themselves, and it's It also is a resume builder because I'll tell you this, after D was in Denmark, we got him an invite to the Hawaii invite-only showcase last June for the XFL. Did really well. He got a draft pool invite letter, but he did not get drafted in the draft. So he went back to Europe. And so we start looking at Germany and Italy and Spain, some different places he wants to try to play. Well, everybody was interested in bringing him in, but not as a DB, but as a DB coach. And so the situation presented itself that he had a chance to travel Europe, putting on defensive back camps and combines and training and teaching their DBs and getting paid to run those camps and combines. And so now he's traveling to Germany and France and Italy and Spain, and he's coaching. Well, the next thing that happened was the X League in Japan called. Well, now he's in Japan as the DB coach with the Panasonic team. So Hidden Gems, one of our clients, is a coach in the X League now. So not saying his playing career is over, but he's had a chance to kind of transition for a minute to the coaching side of the world. So if you ever have an ambition of being a coach when your playing career is over, a lot of times overseas can kind of prep you for that because it gives you the chance to do that while being a player. And then sometimes that will open up other doors. Some guys have stayed in Europe and been coaches for a handful of years. The Pilsen Patriots, I know, you haven't been on Facebook much, but if you go back and look at our page, he brought the idea to me to interview teams and coaches overseas to allow players to hear firsthand what it's like over there and also open them up to new potential prospects. And so the Pilsen Patriots in the Czech Republic, he's from Kansas. He's from a small town in Kansas. He's already been there for a handful of years. And he said, it reminds me of my hometown in Kansas. He said, I really love it here. And we're building something, and I've been given total control. And so they've extended his contract to 2030. So he's got another 7 years in the Czech Republic to coach over there. He's coached in Germany and some other places, but here he is, an American who's decided to stay over there for a while and live life and be a coach over there and help build the game of football in the European area. So you never know what these opportunities present to you. You never know what opportunities will come out of something. So that's why I asked that question, how open and receptive to that idea are you? Because if you go overseas, that will be, I won't say necessarily a requirement, but it'll be something that's encouraged. That the team will lean heavily on you to agree to do something of that nature. So,
Gotcha.
And obviously they have a U level like soccer here in America. And so you've got these younger players that they're trying to develop to bring up to the senior team or their professional team. And they're looking for guys like you to come in and share the knowledge that you've been given by American coaches as far as technique and fundamentals and the schemes, the way you understand them, and be able to share that and teach that to them. And so it's really a big deal being an ambassador to the game overseas. It's not just about going and playing and building a resume. So that was definitely something I wanted to touch on. And even with the indoor level, some of these coaches will lean on players to kind of assist with coaching players up on, during practice and maybe taking a rookie under your wing and kind of mentoring him and saying, look, this is kind of how the ropes work here, and so that's always a big deal regardless of where you go. And I always like to talk to athletes about that and get their insight to it. But let's kind of change gears here a little bit. We've talked a great deal about that. Talk to me about the last game is played. Your cleats are hung up. The last play has been played. Clock hit 0-0-0-0. Your career is over. Your playing career is over. Whether you chose for it to be over or your body just said, "Hey, this is it." Where does Jerome go next? What's after football for Jerome?
I think like I want to do something like I'm doing now. I love like the training aspect of sports and just like, health in general. Like I love the strength and conditioning part of it. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now. I started my junior year of college. I got an internship at this place and then they wound up hiring me right after. So, I would do it. I was doing it for 2 summers, like between my football career. So, I love just like the training aspect, the speed aspect of stuff, the strength aspect, and just like, teaching kids how to lift, teaching them how to run properly, how to jump properly and stuff like that. So I really love that part of it too. I've been like, it's funny you say the coaching thing because I've been thinking about maybe getting into coaching because my alma mater high school, St. John the Baptist, I'm good friends with one of the head coach from the JV team. And me and him go to the same gym. So he saw me and was like, yo, like, what do you think about coming down and, coaching JV with me for a year and then, maybe going up to varsity? And, I kind of miss sitting on it a little bit because I really do like the strength and conditioning side a little bit more than, like on-field coaching. But, yeah, I think I see myself, doing some type of strength and conditioning. I've been working on getting my I actually have my CPT test and my CSCS test coming up soon. So I'm trying to get certified for both of those so I can, maybe transition into like a college weight room or even, just more of a personal training side, something like that. So that's something I want to do, stay close to the game, but not in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a real unique area that's a high demand. You have to find the right people that can train athletes how to people that can teach athletes how to train their bodies to be in the most prime shape possible to compete in the sport they're in, but yet also teach them how to live a healthy lifestyle outside the game and just when their career is over in general. I think that's a big deal, especially like offensive linemen, for instance. In America, we have this fascination with, 6'3", 6'4", 6'6", 300 plus pounds, got to be 300 plus. And a lot of these guys put on this weight. Some of them don't ever get it off. And when their playing career is over, they have heart problems and they have all sorts of serious health problems. And I think it's a thing where some of these offensive linemen and D linemen have started to look at when their football careers are over. Maybe I need to kind of slim down. Maybe I need to get 30, 40 pounds of this off of me and try to
how do them do that?
Live my health, live a healthier life and extend the number of years on the planet. And so I think that's a real unique field, honestly. When I was at Middle Tennessee State, I did physical education as my major and I had an athletic coaching minor. And so in the athletic coaching minor, one of those classes was strength and conditioning, and the strength and conditioning coach for the football program and a lot of the other sports programs, our final project was we had to design our own facility. We had to draw it out and lay out kind of a blueprint and come up with all the ideas and things like that, and research budget and how much it would cost to build. And I just think that's a really unique area. So obviously private training is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. That's something I work, to build partnerships with reputable trainers and training facilities. Just talked to coach with the Orlando Guardians, who's not going to coach this year. He's getting into private training, and we talked about, him doing that, me sending athletes his way, and him partnering with us. And so, there's a guy that we partner with now, Herbert Moore. Herbert played in the SEC with Ole Miss, with the Landshark crew. And he played in the Alliance of American Football and the XFL 2.0 and arena ball. And he runs his own training business out of Memphis. It's 901 trench work. And he focuses on D-line and O-line training, but he's open to working with other position groups. And so high school kids trying to go to college kids trying to turn pro, current pro athletes trying to get better. Herbert does that, and we're able to partner with him. And so I think that's a really high demand area now. Especially because in my experience as a coach, and having done it for 12, 13 years in the different levels, what I see today is we have a lot of coaches that are lazy, that don't want to coach or teach or develop. They just want to find the best athletes possible and plug and play. You don't want to have to teach them fundamentals and techniques or continue to mentor them and develop them even at a higher level. And I think at the lower levels, you have coaches that don't necessarily fully understand the full realm of their responsibility. I think you have coaches that are there for their own glory, to be able to tell war stories at the bar, or at the cookouts or whatever. And you have coaches that forget that, you're there to develop athletes from a fundamental and technique standpoint and then win games, but you're also there to mentor them off the field about life and education and careers and jobs and marriage and how to be, how to kind of, start to become a man. And then also I saw it too at the high school level. I started helping with recruiting, and I started noticing that the other coaches took no interest in helping the seniors with recruitment or even the juniors. And so my first year, a handful of years ago in North Carolina, I'm at a school and there's about 10 seniors and obviously a new coach on the scene. I start trying to get to know the kids and I'm like, asking these guys, you get recruited, is anybody talking to you? And they're like, no, nobody's talking to me. Haven't been on any visits. Nobody's come to see us. And it was kind of a situation. I was told that unless you're D1 material, the particular head coach at the time that hired me didn't believe that you needed to go on recruiting visits and didn't believe he needed to help you, even if you were a D2 guy or a D3 guy or whatever. And so a lot of times kids didn't get any help. And so going into their senior year, they had no idea what to do about getting recruited, So I come in late in the year and we, this December, January, and at the time signing day was in February, and we didn't have the early signing day. And so I'm like, man, I only got a couple of months. Like I got to scramble. I got to call people. I got to make sure their film's right. I got to, build the profiles like I do you guys. And so I just think, a lot of times now in coaching, I think that coaches don't understand the full realm of their responsibilities. And I think they get caught up on, I got to win or I get fired. But I think there's a lot more to coaching than just winning and losing. And so I think that private training is going to continue to be in huge demand because these kids don't get the one-on-one and the extra time and development of fundamentals and techniques and strength and speed and all that when they're at their high school, when they're at their middle school, sometimes when they're at their college, Obviously, you play college ball, if you're not in that immediate group of guys that can impact the team and play and contribute, you're probably standing on the sidelines a lot and you're not getting a whole lot of extra development and mentoring and teaching. And so those guys tend to go seek help elsewhere to develop and build their career. And so, I think what you're doing is is a huge demand area, and I think that's an area that you could find a really nice niche in and be really great at doing that when that time comes. I think you've got a lot of potential to be great on the field right now,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to focus on. But I think your goals after football are some great ideas. Fun question. Let's kind of get off the serious interview type questions. Let's talk a little fun time now. Who do you mold your game after right now? Who do you model yourself after? Current professional player, former professional player? Who do you model after?
That's a good question. I'll give you one of each. My former player that I used to mentor, I used to love Brian Dawkins when I was growing up. I'm an Eagles fan, so I used to love Brian Dawkins. I used to love Brian Dawkins and Ed Reed were like my two favorite like safeties of all time. Just because like Ed Reed was more like the ball hawk type of guy, and then Brian Dawkins was just a bruiser. So like I loved watching Brian Dawkins play. And then current day, I really like how Buda Baker plays, just because he's undersized. Like he's a smaller safety, like 5'9", 5'10", like maybe 200 pounds, but like he comes up and sticks people. So like I love how Buda Baker plays, and I love how Derwin James plays.
Now talking about Ed Reed real quick. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen the U documentary, and I'm sure you've seen highlight films of Ed Reed, and obviously you know that in the official, unofficial scouting parameters for safeties, obviously there's a line that a lot of scouts and GMs use that they look to see do safeties have the Ed Reed eyes?
Yeah.
So Ed Reed set kind of the standard.
Yeah.
With safeties in a certain sense. Do you have the Ed Reed eyes? Are you able to read QBs and hawk the ball?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Okay. Just want to know.
Yeah.
Who do you look up to? Not modeling your game after, but who do you look up to, professional athlete or coach wise or whatever, past, present?
Professional athlete. I'm trying to think. Who's a great player that I looked up to? That's a good one. Recently, it might sound biased. I'm an Eagles fan, but like recently, I've really been like in tune with Jalen Hurts and just like the way that he carries himself like around the field. Like he's not a big like talker. Like neither am I. Like on or off the field, like I'm not a big talker, and like he's the same way. Like he goes there, like he gets the work done. He doesn't really say much, but like all the guys say the same thing about him. Like he's just driven, like he's passionate. Like everybody just like wants to follow him. Like that's someone like I try to be. Like I don't want to be like the loudest guy in the room, but like when you do walk in the room, everybody's like, that's the guy. Like we're following that guy. Like we'll follow him into anything. So like recently, it's really been like Jalen Hurts. But when I was like younger, I was like off football. I used to be the biggest Kevin Durant fan for NBA, and like I used to just the same way. I used to love how like Kevin Durant carries himself. Like he wasn't like the guy on the court that was like, talking the whole time. He would just show up, drop 35 points, and then like, not even crack a smile. He would just go do the same thing the next day. He loved like his mom and his dad and stuff like that. Especially after like the MVP speech with him, like I was the biggest Kevin Durant fan after that. So probably like Kevin Durant, Jalen Hurts, probably I think like the two people like athletes I look up to most.
Yeah, Jalen, even now with the accomplishments he's got after his time in Alabama and the whole situation there and moving into the NFL, there's still people that kind of
doubt him.
Doubt him or, well, he's not this or he didn't do that or whatever. And he's just a guy that he doesn't do a lot of responding in the media and stuff to the critics. He just kind of continues to be him and do what he does and just let his play speak for itself. Now, talking about Ed Reed, so I guess we're not going to see you giving one of those Ed Reed speeches in the tunnel or in the locker room, blasting everybody.
Nah. Not as enthusiastic as him, but I'll definitely say something to the guys before. I used to do it at LIU. I just bring them in the huddle, and just talk to them, just tell them something. Not as loud and as him, but I'm gonna say something to the guys definitely, and especially when we're on the field too. I feel like that's always a good thing to do. Like even if we let up a big play or something, or somebody gets burned, it's gonna happen as a DB. But it's always, it always feels good, like because it happens to everybody. You miss a tackle, you miss a play. It's always good if somebody comes to you and set your head back on straight. So I try to be that guy on the field. Just
I got you. I got you. I don't see you as being the Ed Reed motivational speaker type.
Nah. Nah. I'm not good at the motivational speeches.
Last question. College football season is here. Now, obviously, you're getting ready to go do your fantasy draft here in a little bit, but college football season upon us. Week 0, week 1's already gone by. There's a game on tonight. LSU.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that.
Big game. Who's your college team? And then give me your thought process on who will be in the Final Four at the end of the year.
I don't really have I don't really have a favorite college team. I just like to watch the good games. I just love watching good games. So when I was younger, I really used to like Florida State. I used to be a big Seminoles fan, but I kind of just faded to just liking all the teams that are good. But my top 4, Georgia's always going to be up there just because the defense is incredible over there. Alabama always finds a way to be in that top 4, so I think it's going to be Georgia at 1. I think Bama's going to be 2, and then I'm not sure about Tennessee, but them losing Jalen Hyatt, they didn't look too good yesterday, but I think
I was getting ready to say, easy on the Tennessee thing now. Come on.
Yeah, I think they sneaked their way into that 3-4 spot, and then I'm always a big believer in LSU. I think LSU just always has a good program. So I think it's gonna be Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, LSU. Probably my top 4.
An SEC top 4. Okay. All right. I was gonna say, when you said that you used to be an FSU fan and then you kind of faded off, you might lose some points with a certain professional indoor head coach.
I used to be the biggest Florida State fan. Who was on that team at that time? I think that was the time Jameis Winston was on the team and Travis Rudolph. It was the year that I think they went to the national championship. Yeah, They played North Carolina in the conference championship. I went to that game. And that was a game I really started to like them.
Let's see. 98.
I think Dalvin Cook was there as well.
98, they played Tennessee and got beat. That was the year Peter Warrick was with the team.
No, it was my high school year, so it had to be 2013 or 14, somewhere around there. Yeah, I think Dalvin Cook was on the team at that time. They had Dalvin Cook, they had Jameis Winston, Travis Rudolph was there. Yeah, it was that team. I think Derwin James was there as well.
So we had a couple of guys with the Tulsa Oilers in the IFL. You know who their head coach happens to be?
No.
His name is Marvin Jones. He's a former All-American linebacker at Florida State. He played for Bobby Bowden. His brother was an All-American linebacker. His nephew was an All-American defensive tackle there. His son, Marvin Jones Jr., played as a true freshman at Georgia last year with the national championship team. So Coach Jones played in the league for 11 years with the New York Jets, an all-pro linebacker. He is the head coach of the Tulsa Oilers. I had a running back and a QB with him this year. What would you think if you had a chance to play for somebody like him, seeing that you're a Florida State fan?
That'd be dope. One of my uncles would love that because he's the hugest FSU fans. He has the tattoos, the Seminole tattoos all over. All he wears is Florida State attire. So I know he'd love that. I love it as well too, just to get to play for somebody that played at that level, especially with all those guys. So
Coach Jones, I have direct contact with him, and I'm sure he'll see this interview. So I'll be sure to let him know.
Cool.
If you get time, Google Marvin Jones. His nickname was Shade Tree, and he wore the number 55. He's in the Ring of Honor down there. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. Still a big celebrity status from Florida State. He still does a lot of traveling for podcasts and TV appearances. And so, yeah.
Okay.
I've had a handful of guys get to play for him. So
Nice.
When you mentioned Florida State, I had to throw that out there. But
yeah.
Listen, we're at the hour mark. I told you I wouldn't keep you long. I know you got a family plan, so I'm going to let you get out of here. Real quick, tell everybody how they can find you on social media, what platforms, what your usernames are, how they can find you.
So for Facebook, it's just my name. It's just Jerome Brooks III. I'm also on Twitter. For Twitter, it's just J Brooks with 2 underscores. No, actually, my Instagram is J Brooks with 2 underscores. And then for Twitter, it's Jerome B with 2 underscores. And then that's it. Just Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you so much, Jerome. I really appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday. I know it's a holiday weekend, and I really do appreciate that. It means a lot. It's been an amazing time. I've had a lot of fun interviewing you. Got to really get to know you better and get your thoughts on different things. I'm very certain that this is going to continue to help the marketability of your profile and will help with a lot of teams at different levels to hopefully help open some doors very quickly. So with that being said, anybody that joined us today, I know we had several people join us. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate you tuning in. You can see the scrolling bar at the bottom there. If you want to find Jerome's profile on our website, the information's right there. Go to the website and click on Professional Prospects. You can see a listing of all of our clientele. Find Jerome's picture, click on that, or his name, and his profile will open up. You'll be able to see his profile, his film, his contact information, passport status, location status, et cetera, et cetera. You'll be able to see this interview there as well. It'll also be on our YouTube channel and on our social media platforms. If you have an opportunity for him, please reach out to us, DM me through any of our social media channels. You can email us, you can call us. That information is on our website. We look forward to hearing from anyone that may have an opportunity for Jerome. We do believe he's got a large upside and a lot of potential, and we look forward to big things happening very quickly for him, hopefully through Hidden Gems here real soon. So, again, I'll say thank you. Jerome, have a good rest of your holiday weekend. Be safe. Good luck in the fantasy draft this afternoon, and I'll be in touch with you here in the next few days, okay? And so thank you again, and just like I said, tell Dad and then we said hello. Have a good weekend.
I will. You too. Thank you, Chandler.
All right. Thanks, Jerome.
Later.